Welcome to SalesATM tutorial. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to pay customer invoices, and also we'll learn how to receive customer invoice payment. We will be going through 4 pages. 2 will be reports and the other 2 will be pages that we will use to pay these customer invoices and then managing the customer invoices payment that has been received. Now let's dive into this tutorial. First, we will go to customer invoices and go to invoice payment or recovery. On this page, we record cash payment, mobile money payment, and check payment that has been received from the customer. So if a customer walks in or buys something from point of sale and then walks to the cashier or walks to the accountant to make payment, this is the page you have to come, and then you select the date that the payment is being made. You can backdate it if it is late payment. Maybe he paid yesterday but you are making the entries today. You can go back and select the date that the person paid, but let's take today. Then we select the type of payment. Let's consider first cash. Then you need to have cash account set up in SalesATM. So you select the cash account, the cash at hand, and then you select the staff that this payment is assigned to. Let's select admin. Then the amount that the customer is paying. So let's select, say, 1,000 Ghana cedis. This demo is targeting or is set up for a company in Ghana. That's why it uses Ghana cedis. Then we select the customer that is paying. If you do that, you will now see list of invoices that is outstanding to be paid. So you now select these invoices. As you see, we select the invoice here, and then we enter the amount that you are paying off from this invoice. But remember, the total balance that you have or the customer is paying is 1,000. So you can see that available balance paying is 1,000 here. If I enter 500, you can see that the available balance has reduced to 500 because you are paying of 500 against this invoice. And then if the customer is withholding some tax withholding, you have to put it in there too, plus 500 against that invoice. If you just click again and it goes off, your balance will come back to 1,000 because you are not paying anything off here. So now let's specifically select 500. And then we can, no, let's say 700. And let's select another and say, if we try to enter 500, let's see what happens. You can see that it is more than the 300. So if I go to the next side, it will revert to 300 because that is the maximum that you can pay, and the balance will become 0 here. So this is how it is paid off. So if you save this payment, these invoices, this amount will be paid off. So let's take notice of the balance. It is 9,782 and this is 400. When we pay, these invoice balances will be reduced. So let's see. Let's save the payment. So this payment is done so that you can go to the next payment. So let's say we are paying another cash from the same customer, or just paying next. You can say new payment, or if you want to print a receipt for the customer, you click on view and then the receipt will be generated and you can print to the customer. Then you can go to the new payment. Now it doesn't remove everything. It keeps the date, the payment type, the cash, the admin. It's only the balance and the customer that it's gone. So you can enter a new balance of 500. And let's select the customer again and see the invoices that we paid off if it reduced. Now we can see that the invoice that we paid has reduced. Now it's left with 9,087. The 700 is gone and the 400 is left with 100 because we paid 300. So this is how we pay cash that is received by the customer and pay off the invoices. After payment, you can still have reports on the payments that you have made. So you go to reports, customers, and invoice payment details. Then you can see the payment that we just made. The two payments, we can see that it is 700 and 300. Since we paid from cash, or it's cash details has to also be registered. So we can go to report and go to accounting and go to cash account details and see what you can see there also. So we keep track. We can see that we have this 1,000. It records the entire 1,000 that was received. It doesn't record the details of the invoice that is paid. The other report records the details of the invoice paid. So this is how we pay off invoices or register customer payment that we have received for cash. You can do the same for mobile money, and it's the same process. You go to invoice payment, you select the date, your payment type, mobile money, then you select the mobile money account, and then you select the assigned staff. You go through the same 500, select customer, and then invoices comes. If you make a mistake in the value, you can just go back and change it to 600. What it will do is that you have the invoices still there, but the balance will change to 600. Now let's shift the attention to checks and see how checks are being handled in this system. Now there are two types. So let's say you want to pay check. Sometimes the check might have been received and not entered in the system. Here we will learn about that checks that are not yet paid into the bank, or fresh checks that are not yet due. How to handle it? We will do that. But now we're going to consider a check that has already been paid and received by the company, and it has gone through the banking process. The money is cleared and the money is available in our bank account. What you do is you select the check, which is called the type of check is cleared at the bank. So this means the money has been deposited in our bank account. Everything is done. Then you go to the bank account, then you enter the check number that you have received from the customer. Then you select the staff that is assigned to, let's say another 300. We select the customer, then the invoice will drop down here for us to enter. Now let's take the first one, enter 300. We are paying off everything, the 300. When we save, we have it here, it's done. You can go back and print, or you can just print the receipt as well. You see the receipt 300 and go to new payment, you still have the page there. Now let's go to the report and see what happened there. We go to the customers and invoice payment details, which we paid 300. It will tell us 300 there. This is the customer invoice. We have 300 somewhere here. Check 300 that we have, that we just paid. Now let's go to the bank and see if it registered in the bank, because as we said, it's supposed to be there. We go to accounting, we go to bank account details there, and we can see the 300 that we just paid. Invoice payment received from this, paid with check, and the 300 is there, and it increases the balance of our bank balance. Remember, if we go back to the invoice, we will see that the invoice has decreased. Now let's talk about check that is not due yet, not processed at the bank yet. You just received a check. Let's go back to our page there. We have invoice payment recovery, and then we select check. Let me chip in If also the customer pays money directly into the bank account, you can use direct bank deposit. It follows the same process as cash, how it is handled. Now let's go to check that is not yet due, not mature yet to be paid into the bank. So we said not cleared at the bank. We enter the check maturity date. Now we're going to enter when the check will mature. So let's say tomorrow. And now we have the check number entered, and we have the payment assigned, and the amount, let's say 600, and we have here again. Now look what it says. These invoices that you're going to select will not be marked as paid or part paid until the check is marked as earned. So we will see another page where we will go through the process of marking each step of the check where it has reached. So now we just have to select the 600 to pay off this particular invoice. When we save and we come back, even though the check is not, the invoice is not paid off, that 600 will be held. It will be reduced from the balance that we see here for the next payment. So it will hold that until the check is cleared and paid, or if the check is not cleared, then it will revert back the balance that it's holding on that particular invoice. So now we save it, and then we can see that it has saved. For us to be sure of what I just said, we can say new payment, and then we can enter just to see whether the balance of that invoice is still holding in there. So we have the date, the maturity date, we can pick tomorrow, and then we take check number, then amount, let's see 100, and select the customer. We can see that the 600 is reduced from this value here. It's holding it. So we will see about that. So now we have a check that is registered, not yet paid into the bank. Where can we find it? In SalesATM, you come back to Invoice Payment Management, Checks. This is where you see the checks. So this page helps manage checks so that checks cannot be overlooked or forgotten to be deposited. So anytime you come to this page, you will see checks that are mature, checks that are ready to be picked and sent to the bank. It helps you to manage your checks effectively. So you can see that mature checks, these checks are ready to be sent to the bank. What do you do? When you send the check to the bank, you need to come here and mark the check as presented. We will talk about this. But here you can also see the invoices that are corresponding to this payment, invoices that will be paid off when this check is earned. You can see them here. If you say view invoices, you can see, and the amount that you are paying. Everything is there. And you can see this one also here. You can see the invoices that is there. You can see. What you can also do is you can update the invoices. You can update. So if you have this, you can change the amount that you are paying with these invoices, or you can change the value that you are paying. Here you can change, make adjustments to that. What you can also do is you can also update the details of the check. Maybe you made a mistake in the payment date, or you made a mistake in the check number, or you make a mistake in the maturity date, or the person this check, the staff that this check is assigned to. You can make all these changes and you can save it, and for the changes to reflect. So that is also what you can do. And then you can also cancel it entirely. If you think the whole thing is wrong, just cancel it. So now let's present this check. Now staff have taken the check to the bank. You know now which bank you presented it to which account. So you select the account that you made this presentation in, and then you save it. And gives you a feedback nicely what you have done. Now this will be removed here. And if you want to see that check, you have to go to presented checks and click on view, and then you see the check that is presented. What about a check that is not yet mature? You go to immature checks and you view. These are the checks that are not yet matured. The one that we just paid, we just received on the 17th year. Yes, it is not yet mature. Still, you can go through all of them. You can view the invoices that are tied to this, the invoice, the amount. You can update as we saw, update the details, update the invoices that you're paying, or you can still cancel. Now, if the check is presented and now you've known that the check is mature, is deposited in our account, everything is true, you need to come and mark this check as honored. So when you click on honored, or if the check is returned because the customer didn't have funds, yes, click on return and the check will be returned. Or if the check is dishonored, bounced, also click. Because it will help you to know which checks bounce and keep track of the customers that their checks keep bouncing so that you know what you do about them. Now, let's say everything went through. It's honored. So we click honored. It gives you some information, the check number, the check value, and the invoices that you are going to pay off, and the amount that you are paying off. So we are paying invoice 11, 3,000 out of it is. So let's save it. We click on save, and it tells you that marking check as honored and paying off corresponding invoices was successful. So let's go back to our report and see what we have just done. The invoices ends with 11. So let's go through and see 11. There's an invoice 11 that we paid because it goes back to the date 11th March, and the payment is showing here 3,000 is paid off from that invoice. Now if you go to the bank, let's see accounting and bank details and to see what happened there. So we have everything. We have 3,000 registered as payment of the check that we have received today. Yes, so that's what we see now here. Good. So we have to see in general how checks are being paid in SalesATM. Very flexible way of paying checks. So let's recap it. First, if a check is received, if a cash is received as a payment of invoice from a customer, remember you need to come to customer invoices and come to invoice payment. That's where you make the registration. If it is cash, it will be paid off, or invoices will be paid off instantly. If it is a clear check, any of this type, cash, check with clear check, invoices will be paid instantly. If it is mobile money, it will be paid instantly. If it is direct bank deposit, it will also be paid instantly. And then if it is check that is not mature, you need to go to invoice payment management checks, and there you can manage the checks, take it through the process, present it. First, immature checks, you can see you have immature, mature, presented, where you can honor it, dishonored checks. Maybe you can go in again to resend it to the bank, or return, you can also resend it to the bank. So what we've learned today is how flexible SalesATM allows you to receive customer payments and to pay off invoices. Thanks for watching.